Good evening, guys. I'm really happy to be today with you. Please forgive if my internet connection will not be perfect because I still don't have electricity and I'm sharing my mobile internet via hotspot. Um, Let me know if you can see and hear me, please. Because in this situation, it is very, very important. Um Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Also, there might be a moment when the electricity is on, and I hope everything is fine in my room because I was trying to clean it and to prepare for this stream without electricity. Yeah, I have finally bought myself a microphone, like all those professional bloggers. Also, I intended to make it better quality today, but with this electricity out, I'm using power banks, I'm using mobile internet. So please forgive if something goes wrong and it turns out accidentally because mobile internet is not stable, or on country we are actually expecting light at 10 p.m. And maybe this is one of the things that I want to talk about because it's a funny thing in Ukraine right now. But also, I want to thank very much two people, Martin and Spencer, who agreed to help me today. We are not going to make serious moderation, but Russian trolls sometimes don't let me find really interesting questions and answer them. So I'm really grateful to you guys for the support that you offered. And one funny situation is like I'm a patriot of my country, and in my videos I always say only positive things, and I plan to do it in future too. But there is one bad thing that we have. These are electricity outages schedules, and they are never accurate. And of course we can say it's about war, but even even if they can be accurate, they are not. And now it is very often that, like, you go to bed, you try to think about every light that was in your flat, whether it's out, to check everything because you're going to bed in darkness. And then somewhere at 2 o'clock you hear thump everywhere the light is. And no matter how hard you try to check everything. And I don't know what about you, but it's also a joke that in many hotels in Ukraine, and it seems to me all over the world, when you have this tap for water, cold and warm, and it's usually just the contrary. Cold gives warm, warm gives cold. And the same with my stuff with electricity. It took me like half an hour to remember up or down. It gives me light. Anyway, there are many jokes right now in Ukraine that are connected with these outages, and I believe that this is one of the forms that give us strengths. And for example, yesterday we did not have any outages. That's why I hope that today it will be safe to have our chat. And then like there is a joke on Facebook, very common, like when people say, um, now we have lights in the evening, what are we supposed to do? It's so unusual because typically you have like 4 hours or something, and during that 4 hours you have to charge. You see how it works, guys. I give you 100%. I was confident that I turned the lights off. So 10:05, not that bad. Not that bad. Thank you. And like no mess. So thank you. And the candles go out because you have to save candles in Ukraine. And the other one, I don't know why, they make me feel safer. Also, I hope we like will continue using this internet. But if something goes out, I will return back with my ordinary internet, so please forgive if there will be some problems. Yeah, Anna has the power. I like it sounds both like very metaphorical. Anyway, now I think I'm ready to answer your questions, and I will be really glad if you like this video because it helps it become more visible for other people who may want. So maybe some questions, and it's always easier for me to find the questions when you A, tag me, B, you put a question mark. I'm a teacher, you know. If there is no question mark, it's not a question. Okay. Dobry вечір. I'm really glad that many of you like word of the day, the Ukrainian word of the day, and I haven't recorded one today, but I have to do that. So greetings to Sweden, greetings to many beautiful countries, to Denmark, greetings to so many beautiful countries, and I'm really proud that you are with us and you support us. Okay, to Canada and to the United States and to, okay, the United Kingdom, of course. So many greetings, so many beautiful greetings. And the questions. You loved my lightning choice. Yeah, it was nice, but I'm sorry, they turned the electricity on. And once I have to tell you, one of my like stories that like I am a very sound sleeper. I don't know if I have shared that with you, but like when I'm under stress, like people act differently. Some people lose the ability to sleep, and I, on contrary, gain the ability to sleep. And once it was like I woke up at 7 a.m. all in light, and my mom told me that at 2 a.m. or something they gave electricity back, and she thought I'm dead, but didn't want to come and check that. Okay. Good. Some questions. Have you changed your diet at all with refrigeration and cooking changes? Okay, thank you for that question. That's an interesting question. I cannot tell you that I have changed my diet seriously, but I have changed my shopping habits. It is a problem nowadays. Why? Because like when you come to big supermarkets, of course they have generators, but at first I thought that generators are a solution, but they eat so much petrol, and typically people save money, and the supermarkets and small shops, they save money, and what do? They switch, I don't know, lights, they switch cash machines, but they don't switch refrigerators. And when you come to supermarkets, there are many of the products that disappeared. For example, not so many, not a big choice of meat, not a big choice of fish. And before buying something, you think twice. For example, this morning I decided to go to a market because I like to buy fruit and other stuff on the market. And I wanted to buy fish. And when I came to the market, they did not have electricity. And I saw that many refrigerators are empty. And I had this like double thought. So there are many products that you think maybe I won't. Plus, various canned foods that are now very popular because we're afraid that it can get even worse. And also, you don't buy too many products because you realize that something bad can happen to refrigerator. But also, we have winter, and winter is a frosty in Ukraine, and now it's like even if it's warm, you have like 5 Celsius, 0, and it's okay to store products outside. So, for example, if we cook something that can be spoiled, I don't know, like a soup, we can put it on the balcony. It does not look very nice. Actually, I hate those people who put various stuff on the balconies, but now balconies and other stuff are used for that. In Ukraine, you don't think that much about style and fashion, and like you stuff them. Like during COVID pandemics, something similar happens right now. Okay. Do you hear many generators outside? Did you hear generator? It just stopped right now. But yeah, I do, but somehow I like them. I don't know. They resemble me, the sounds of those generators that you can hear in the mountains, because in Ukraine there are many hotels in the Carpathian Mountains. I love them in normal times, and they don't have electricity, they have generators. So my associations are pretty positive, and I like hearing them. They don't distract or irritate me, but there are many. Now, when you walk down the street, any street, you can see lots of generators, and I think they are very important, especially for farmhouses, pharmacies, shops where you can buy something, or it's common to sell, like people know, for example, in my city, where can you buy hot coffee or hot wine or bread if needed, because like not every shop, for example, from a chain has, but like every second or every third, and like it looks nice. I don't see a problem in them. How do I stay warm with intermittent electricity? Well, you can see it. Actually, I had an idea to start this vlog wearing my favorite mittens, and then to tell you it was a joke because I have like warm tea, because I'm not that cold. But then I realized it's not very good to joke about that because there are many people who are actually that cold. But like we don't have electricity not for that long period, so like 4 hours, 6 hours, and during that time the house is not getting that cold. So I did not try, for example, to fire the fireplace or anything else. There are also gadgets that are sold in Ukraine, like various accumulators that you can connect, for example, your autonomous heating system. But typically what I do, I put my heating system pretty like up, so that it is hot, like hotter than maybe needed, and then when it's cold it has some time to so that's the way. And also warm pajamas, various hoodies, sweaters, and yesterday I have decided I will walk in that stuff. I don't know, how do you call it, because it's not a blanket and it's not a plaid. In Ukraine we call them plaid, and it's woolen, and I walk and imagine myself a Roman emperor in toga, because I can like take some pieces of furniture together with me. Somehow I grow in size when I'm walking in that. Is Ukrainian attacking Russian occupiers in Crimea? How can I tell you that? Well, I know something is happening, and in Simferopol they are saying that air defense is working. I have nothing against that, but we will see it. Like, I'm a person who don't want to talk about something when it is finally known, but I totally support targeting Russian military targets even on the territory of Russia. Why? Because they are used to attack Ukrainians, and I see it's totally normal during the war. Can you imagine, like, people not wanting, I don't know, to kill Hitler during war, because like it's bad to kill. It's bad to kill, but it's not bad to kill Putin. Greetings to Michigan. Can the orcs see my videos? I guess. I think that orcs are really bad with gadgets. That's why they have started looting raccoons that wash instead of washing machines. Perhaps they don't know how to use washing machines, and they started substituting them with raccoons. And maybe they watch, maybe they don't. I cannot tell you that I feel very many Russian trolls on the channel. At the beginning, there were more. And I personally want to believe that this is a tendency. They lack messages they can share. So maybe that's the plan. But if they watch my videos, let them. Sometimes my subscribers inspire me to talk to Russians and like to do something maybe in Russian, but I don't want that. I feel like I need to speak about Ukraine. Like, there are so many things that you don't know, and I don't feel like my channel can change something in Russian society, because they are really, really, really ill. And I'm like a narrator, and they need, like, I don't know, what is the top level of like a brain surgeon. because maybe even a psychiatrist won't help. Okay, how are my students? All okay? All okay, if it's possible to say so. But these students are beautiful. Actually, I felt really sorry for them because, for example, our third course is a very good, like very good people, but they are not like lucky to some extent because they had these 2 years of COVID when they came to the university and they didn't have normal socializing, and now they have even worse war. But they are super adaptable. They are very kind. For me, I don't see huge difference between them and other European students, and I'm really glad of that because, like many of you, comment or ask me questions about corruption, and tomorrow we have a separate Soviet myth debunks video about corruption that actually was imported from the Soviet Union. And many of you ask questions about that, and it is a problem in Ukraine. Of course, not to the extent as it is in Russia, but many countries that were in communist regime, and this communist regime is totally unnatural, like no private property, deficit, and people start dealing, and these dealings, they lead to corruption. So for example, these students, they are totally against corruption. And if you can think about like previous generations before me, these people like tolerate, they know there is a habit like to thank somebody. So students and people like me, we're totally against that, and the civil society is active, so that's why I believe in them a lot. Also, students will have a really long period of vacations. Now we have like our session, they have exams on Monday, I will listen to their course papers once again, and then they will have vacations up to the 1st of March. This is really long, and this is not good for the educational process. Those who are teachers understand, but from the other point of view, we're going to have a warmer period, and we're going to have more light, and because with this electricity, like um, I am writing one article about the changes in the academic life in Ukraine, and I understand that for many of you, it is even difficult to understand how different it is and how abnormal it is. Sometimes we had like these normal classes, but then we, during, for example, air raids, we cannot stay at the university because universities are potential targets. So we go to bomb shelters. Some people are able to continue lecturing in bomb shelters, but there are not enough space, and people can be in one room, like 3 different groups, 3 different teachers. So this is not the best opportunity. And then with electricity outages, sorry, microphone, it's pretty soon that it is getting dark here in Ukraine, and then they don't have enough time for their homework. Plus, take into account that different districts of the city are cut out of electricity in different times. There are these schedules, so not all the city at once, and students live in different districts, and then teachers, and to some extent we cannot even conduct online. So it looks like we send sometimes them tasks and they do these tasks. Looks very antique, but like it's very important not to stop, because if something stops, it's a failure. And we try to, sometimes we pretend, sometimes we work harder than possible, but we try to preserve this normality because it's vital for their psychology and also for our future, for our life, and so on. Thank you for buying me coffee. I have a message in my phone, and please like the video, the stream, if you like, of course, because we're not Russia, and if you don't like, don't. Mm. Mm. Okay. Greetings to Hungary and Scotland and Switzerland and Slovakia and Australia and Finland. I'm so honored. Sometimes I check the analytics and I'm so surprised that people from all corners of the world watch me, and thank you so much for that. I'm really, really honored to have you, and I like sometimes I cannot believe, like, guys, why do you need me? Okay, I've lost the track. Just a second. Just a second. Okay, not that like good at And the Netherlands, never, never. I will never forget the Netherlands. And okay, so yeah, adapting can be difficult, but this is one of the qualities that we have managed to develop and so on. Do I think the infrastructure will be mostly rebuilt on the ground? No, I don't think so. Why? Well, when talking about electricity, that might be a good solution because I hate that we have this like stuff. When I travel, I always notice that in many beautiful European cities, you don't have electricity cords hanging on the streets, and then it's easy to take beautiful pictures that look exactly like postcards. And in Ukraine, you have this electricity cords everywhere. So I do believe it is really good to rebuild Ukraine, but this from this perspective, making it like more, making it different, making it better. And war is a tragedy, but it was not our choice, and there is nothing that we can change. We only have to win this war, and also then we have to use the opportunities that it gives. It sounds like difficult, but at the same time, it does give some opportunities. I do believe that many people went out of their comfort zones. Many people realized that something totally impossible is possible. And that's why, even when we plan to rebuild Ukraine, and I do hope that we will be more open to the world and more open to various positive experiments, and many people will come here and use Ukraine as the land of opportunities. That's the way I want to think about. But of course, it's too early to speak about the rebuildings and so on. Well, what do I teach at the university? This is a question that I'm often asked. I teach linguistics related subjects like political linguistics, like interpreting, like creative writing, creative and technical writing, and various subjects related to the language policy of the European Union. And I'm a Euro optimist. Yeah, the papers, those who worry for the semester papers, I will check them on Monday. That we have this defendants process, so that will be on Monday. And I will listen to that. And greetings to Finland. That is, yeah, a country that we feel very much connected, and much of your history inspires us today. Your questions about electricity shortages, are they scheduled? They are scheduled, but not all people follow the schedule. There are different stories. For example, the more like citizens are dissatisfied, the better the schedules become. And you've watched, like on my case, they had to turn it off at 6, but they turned off at like maybe 10 minutes before 6, and the lights returned back at 10 and 5 minutes, and they were supposed at 10. So today it was pretty accurate. Sometimes they forget about us, and instead of 4 hours, we had like 6 hours outages. And I live in the west of Ukraine, where the infrastructure was not damaged severely, and to some extent our outages are like for the sake of the rest of the country. We do have enough electricity here, and our electric stations are working normally. But for the circulation, if it's possible to say, of electricity all around Ukraine, it's important. And I know that in the further east you move, the more problems with electricity you will encounter. And for example, in some cities, they have a schedule that is closed like 45 minutes twice during day and 4 hours during night. So people switch their schedules and, for example, don't sleep during the night, but vacuum clean, washing machine, charging, and all of that. And at the beginning, when it was really severe after this serious infrastructure hits, I also did that. Like, for example, you go to bed all covered with these blankets, with candles on, like when candles on my wall, it resembles a castle or something. And then 12:05 or something like that, electricity is back, and you realize, oh, I have so many things to do, and you return back to your computer. So we also change our schedules, and that might be not always good. If there are orcs that make you elves because you could, yeah, I think we are, yeah. Yeah, well, I have one elf ear or something like that. Like my parents had a very bad, very bad. Like, have you seen Yulia Tymoshenko? If you have seen Yulia Tymoshenko, who was once the prime minister of Ukraine, and I don't like her as a politician, but she's a pretty woman, and her ears are a little bit different. So as mine. And my parents used to say that this is like nothing bad, guys. Everything is okay. But my parents used to joke that one is from my mom, another is from my dad. Not the best joke, like it's kind of bullying or what, but a strong person. And like my father is very Elfian, I guess. So maybe I'm a hybrid. I've told you already, like that jokes of my family, so please forgive that it's not close to the topic. And I'm really glad to welcome all those of you who are new to the channel. Every subscriber is like a very important treasure to me because honestly, I am not tired to repeat that. I have never believed I will have so many of you and you will be so special, like a true community of friends. And whenever I ask you something, you're ready to help and to support, and you're so smart and you're so kind and you want to know about my country that sometimes I want to pinch myself, and I'm really grateful for that, honestly. And in some dark moments, there are some like pillars on which you stand, and I have never thought that YouTube channel will be that, and it is. So I'm really glad that you have here. Uh, yeah, I hope that, like, let me know if the Russian bridge has fallen while I'm talking, because this is something important. I have to mention that. Uh, oh my God, who am I supporting in the World Cup football? You mean like today? Today, as far as I remember, is England and France. Yeah. So today I am for England. I'm sorry. But what about the rest? I don't know. Like, how about Argentina? I have relatives in Argentina, but now you can like identify. Am I following it? Um, okay. What are Ukrainians going to teach the world about international relations? Well, that is a difficult question because I think there are lots of things that we can teach, honestly, because of this experience that we got. But also there are lots of things that we have to learn from the world. And I don't like those of my like countrymen who sometimes become a little bit arrogant, saying like, we can teach you everything, like you have never been in the conditions of war or something. But many of you are not in conditions of war because you have conducted correct politics. Like, it's not the gift, it is the result of your choices. It's your history, and hopefully we will make a history like you did like decades ago. For me, like the greatest tragedy of Ukraine was that after the Second World War, we stayed under the totalitarian regime. I had one article that I wrote for the Ukrainian daily newspaper about Operation Unthinkable. That was an idea of Churchill to continue fighting against totalitarianism after the victory over Nazi regime, and to continue that with the communist regime. The world was tired. It was very difficult, and Stalin looked like a winner. And they speak in Russia that the victory is only theirs, and it's a sin. And the problem is that many beautiful countries like Ukraine, like the Baltics, like Poland, like Moldova, there are so many countries, 10 countries, 15 countries. Not all of them were part of Soviet Union, but many of them belong to that socialist camp, and they did not actually belong, they were occupied. And we were hidden behind that iron curtain, and we were always different from Russia, from Russian Empire, but the world did not know about that. And even now, many people are so surprised, like, why are you so different? But we are so different. We are not like brothers at all. And not only because of war, but because of our, like, this basic choices. We're always for freedom. We're always for democracy. There are also many bad things. Like, for example, Ukrainians eat a lot. Ukrainians collect much food at their houses. Russians don't. I don't know. If Russians were able to concentrate on their own culture, history, there are so many things they can develop. They have the greatest, the biggest country in the world. Why on earth do they need us? And they cannot. They are just like parasites. They can only feed from others. And in our case, I feel really sorry. Like, um, if we could teach something this international relations, I would say like never close your eyes on small evils. Like, I don't know, there are proverbs like that, but when you see that something bad is happening somewhat in the world, try to correct that mistake because it grows into something bigger. And once again, I'm not trying to frighten people, but if we don't stop Putin, this will continue. This will lead to other wars and conflicts initiated by Russia, initiated by other superpowers like China, or this, like when you show that it can be stopped, just like with the Crimea, the reaction was very, very calm. Like maybe it's Russia, you never know, don't make them angry. They already do bad things. This is just like home violence, like bullying. By accepting that, by closing your eyes, you cannot solve the problem. Of course, it's always uncomfortable, it's always bad, but it is less violence, less problems, fewer victims. What we have now, a very serious war. But if we let Putin go with that, it will be like a nuclear war, something worse. So, and the very same thing happened after the Second World War. Uh, we were strong enough not to lose ourselves, not to lose our cultural identity, and things like that. And but we were suppressed. Millions died. Genocide, Holodomor before that, during Soviet occupation. We have there are lots of things that we have to understand, that we have to support each other. And I have promised myself that after this war in Ukraine, I will never be indifferent to other wars, no matter how far away they are. I will always, like, if I cannot help with money or I will not travel there, at least I will speak about that. I will try to learn and understand what are the reasons, and I will be always on somebody's side. Because, like, I'm a political, I'm neutral. We have to listen what Russians want to say. Come on, guys, they came to an independent country to kill its children. Why do you need to listen to them? What can they tell you? So that's what, like, winter clothing. What are the name of winter clothing in Ukraine? Well, there are many. If you want to speak about national, this will be kožuch. Kožuch is something like a fur coat, but inside out. It was many countries, many Slavic, many East European countries wear them, and they are very warm and at the same time very heavy. They can be made of sheep or other animals, and they can be decorated and so on. I guess you're asking about that because all the rest, like, are traditional. Like, have I ever considered to leave Ukraine? No, like, really no. Well, first of all, like, of course, if I had like Russian tanks in my city, please forgive me drinking tea. If I would have Russian soldiers in my city, I will try to escape, definitely, because I'm a kind of person who wants to survive this war and to do something for Ukraine and for the world. I'm not like, when I speak to our soldiers, to other people, like, I always want to hear that they want to live, like, not to sacrifice themselves. Of course, sometimes you don't have a choice, but it is very good when you are aimed to survive and to change this world, not to sacrifice yourself if it's possible. So if I had like Russians in my own city or like 50 kilometers, I will try to leave. But if not, I feel like it can be useful here. And I never considered it like seriously. I love traveling, and I promised myself that I will travel more in future. But I always feel that Ukraine is my home. And also when you are abroad, like I have been abroad in 2015 during one like hot period also in the east of Ukraine, and they claimed the borders can be closed, and I felt so nervous because I wanted to return back to Ukraine so hard. You feel very, very worried when you're far away from your country. It's like far away from your mom when she's ill, something similar. So that's why I did not consider it like 100%. But when it's a question of life, I will try. Are there Christmas holiday decoration being displayed in my community? Not many. And there are lots of questions and quarrels and discussions about this. Like, Christmas is very much about electricity and electric lights. And we save them. Like, I don't have electricity at home to warm myself or to take a shower. Like, so it's not very likely that we will light our New Year trees. So perhaps it will be a little bit darker this year. But there is something magical in this darkness. There is much light in this darkness. Honestly, I'm not joking. Sometimes when I'm walking these dark streets and I see people and I realize that we are standing and we're going through this winter and they're not going to stop us no matter what they do, that actually we're living through our victory with all these victims and tragedies, but this is our existential fight when we finally are ready to stop our enemy. And this is very, very, very important. And you hear these generators and you smell hot wine and like you don't need lights. And but fir trees, new Christmas trees and other stuff are already everywhere. And it's a little bit early for Ukraine, but we're taking over your traditions and it's good. So there are many decorations, but not that many light. So thank you for the question, but good. I always, when I look later at the videos of my streams, I hate how I read the questions, and you have to wait for me. How difficult is the situation with money? Is the situation close to normal in your area? Given that you are away from the front, yes, the situation is close to normal, and as far as I understand, like everything works more or less. Like many people lost their jobs, many businesses stopped. I speak about private businesses, but people also get some other opportunities, support each other, and this level of unity is really strong. So I cannot tell you that many people suffer, or at least around me. Like, of course, you don't get this extra like money for something like I don't know, how do you call it, for a new year you can get something if you work well, or people are not asking for pay rises, but at the same time I'm not into credits and after other things, but I know that there are different conditions that try to help people. Of course, the beginning of war, like the dollar and the euro prices went really up, and it was like huge. So hryvnia fell, but in general, people are coping, and I think that right now, like we have the support of the world, we have the money coming from all corners of the world, and some of them are supposed to help strengthen the financial side of Ukraine. What will happen after the end of the war, we will see. It depends much on what people will govern the country, what support we will get, how we will demonstrate ourselves in the process of reforming, because it's just like after a serious tragedy, you rarely realize it in the process of tragedy. Typically, after a year or like a couple of months at least, you finally realize your losses. And Ukraine now is fighting, and the priority is survival. So not many people analyze what is with our economy, what is with our like infrastructure. After we win, we will see that, and I'm sure we will be very much disappointed. But then once again, we will have to focus on our victory. Yeah, we keep meat and fish outside. That's what we do. Do I suffer from cold? No, like it's not cold. Like I like it when it's warm in the house. I'm a person who likes to walk in t-shirts at home, but it's never like that cold. Like it's so far it is almost normal. Like you feel how the temperature drops and you start walking with that. But this is also because I'm a girl. So far we are not freezing here in my region. In others, when they don't have enough water, don't have enough gas and electricity, the situation can be really different. So Okay, some proposals: independency, freedom, and truce. Okay, so perhaps one of these words I will record today because, like, I've forgotten about that, and I was like a student who studied well, and if I don't do my homework, I feel really bad. Uh, where can we send you candles? Well, like I think the very process of sending the candles will be pretty like complicated. We do have enough candles in Ukraine so far. It's not a problem like to buy and get them. So maybe the very shipping process can be more complicated. Um, okay. Hmm. Yeah, thank you for the like a message that I will read that I work in a primary school in Ireland and the kids are as happy as they can be. We can see the strengths of your people. Long live EU, long live Ukraine. It's very, very important. Like I dream that Ukraine will become a part of Europe, just like not focusing on economical, political, but like Ukraine has always been Europe. That was our problem with Russia, because the values that we share, the standards that we want, we don't want to come to Europe and destroy that all. That's what Russians won't do. We want to come and learn and teach something and just exchange and feel like that we're not different. Now we have visa-free regime since 2017 or something, or 2015. I don't remember exactly. And I was very happy about that. I never planned to escape to Europe or to the US, and it was always so humiliating for me, all these checks on the borders, and somehow I was always a person checked. Perhaps I looked suspicious. For me, it was very humiliating, this component, and like I'm happy that this disappears. Um, no, I don't have eBay and Amazon. I know there are such things, but I didn't have one. Speak about Nobel Prize winner from Ukraine, Alexandra Matvichuk. Well, this is a great day, and I know that her speech is very strong. I did not have an opportunity to read the speech because it was like when I did not have electricity and was trying to prepare for this stream. But I think this is very important and very symbolic that Ukraine's voice is stronger with this Nobel Peace Prize. But sometimes I'm not a huge of all Nobel Prizes because sometimes, like, not all, like, for me, to some extent, many decisions on writers and on other people are political. And now I think it's also a political decision, and this one is good for me. So perhaps I'm not good at explaining this, but this is a very important mark in our history, and I'm really glad that the world is with Ukraine. Uh, do I make vareniki from scratch or buy frozen? Do you really want the truth? Are you ready to hear it? I buy. Do you want to hear even something worse? I'm not a huge fan of vareniki. This is not my favorite Ukrainian food. Borscht and holubtsi would be. Vareniki are good, and I like cabbage stuffing and cheese. But I don't eat them so often, and I don't make them from scratch. Sorry, I can bake pierogi, which are like pies, small pies, and that's I can do. Very tasty, by the way, and yellow. They are supposed to be. Um, how do I do my laundry without electricity? Wait for the electricity to return. We don't have electricity not all the day round. Or for example, if you don't have one day, like all day, you can wait for the next day. So far, like I had enough time to like wait and do my laundry normally. But of course, it's better to choose the normal time because I have already been in the situation like when it stops and you have your clothes in a washing machine and then you take something like that and you start. That's what I hate, honestly. And then you take your jeans and they are so heavy. I've been in such situation. But then what kind of weather is there in the moment? It was cold today and foggy, very damp. Like I live in the region with lots of water, so it's not very healthy. Many people in the past centuries were ill with tuberculosis here, but for me, somehow this climate is okay. I don't feel bad about it. So it's it was very foggy in the morning and also a little bit slippery then. But the weather is around like 0 + 3, so it's not that cold. Oh, my plans to celebrate Christmas. I don't know. Like Ukrainians don't plan further than tomorrow. It's dangerous. I don't know what will be with electricity. I plan to be home, like with my mom. Cannot leave her. And we will cook something tasty. It would be good if we have electricity because actually it's pretty like if you don't have electricity for a long period of time, it gets pretty boring because sometimes you want television or internet. And I'm not a huge fan like of television. When I say television, I mean like uh, Viasat, History, National Geographic. Well, that's what I like. Uh, that's what helps me like relax, and I feel good when I watch it. So and that's it. Like I don't have many relatives here. I have some relatives in Kiev. I don't have grandparents, so I don't have like I had, but now I don't. They're gone, and I feel like when I start thinking about that, I don't have relatives. Like I don't have many relatives at all. It's a kind of problem. And so my plans are pretty like standard. I will cook something. Also, I want to film you an interesting video. Hopefully, with Sasha, we have one idea for Christmas, and I hope we will manage to do it more optimistic than like Soviet Myth Debunked series, more optimistic. Yeah, so okay, once again, me reading. Greetings to Turku, Finland. I know you have a very good university there. Okay. Let me scroll some questions. Yeah, I think that Ukraine deserves all frozen assets of Russia. And that is true. Do you play sports or dance? Oh, well, I don't sing and I don't dance much, and I'm not the kind of that person that will like dance a lot, even on a party. I like watching the people who dance and making jokes on them, but positive jokes. And sports, once again, I'm not like 100% sporty. I have tried running this summer, but kind of stopped. I like hiking and walking. That's my kind of. I can walk like 20 kilometers and we'll be fine. Also, I'm good at tourism. Then when you bring me to a new city, I can like walk you to death. And I plan to go into the gym. Also, I swim. I swim well, and from time to time, I go to a pool. And I played tennis, lawn tennis, but like I was not the best, and I kind of didn't like it that I was not the best. So, uh, why not play some board games instead of television? My mom does not play games. She's like a very sarcastic person right now. She doesn't even want to eat enough, so she's not very good. And but board games are a nice idea. Maybe like you need more people than two of us. What are the berries in the sun? Oiluzi, червона калина, viburnum, if I'm not mistaken, viburnum. There is another word for that, but this is just a very popular song that everybody's singing. And but let me check, please, because I can make this mistake and people will not forgive me. Just a second. And one, please like the video if you like it. So this is also a Guelder rose, if it's like not a lating. And it is a symbol of Ukraine also. It's a very important plant, and they are edible when it's cold. They are very sour and very bitter, and they resemble cranberries to some extent and often are part of jam or sauce. They have a weird smell. They are very healthy, especially if you have a cold. You can take jam with water and drink it. And like I can drink it, but not all people can. Mm, uh, yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you for those teachers who work with Ukrainian students right now, and I'm really grateful that you make them a part of your communities. And children, like they will learn languages, they will see Europe from inside, and that will be really good. Like I think it will ease many cultural processes inside Ukraine and the EU. A weekly online class in January on Ukrainian history and culture, or anything tuition based. Oh, thank you. That is a nice idea. And actually, I think about that. Like electricity shortages, they spoil lots of things, but there are many ideas that I want to develop. And after the war, too, because like somehow I loved YouTube, and I think this is a huge opportunity to learn and to learn from others because I watch YouTubers and I many information that I need, starting from medical and finishing with like cooking, I take from YouTube, and it is also a good place to learn about the country. So I greatly value the community that I have, and in future, maybe I will think about that, like Ukrainian history and culture. There are lots of things that I want to tell you. And please, if you have some ideas, you can find my email in the description of the channel, danilchukprojects@gmail.com. Write to me. I do not always respond quickly because I receive already a lot of emails. I'm sorry. And also electricity stuff and all of that things. And I have some other jobs, so I can be slow, but sometimes there are lots of good ideas that you gave me, and many of like vlogs were inspired by you, and many things you have already changed in the way, like even a microphone that I bought with your influence. uh, Okay, White Raven, no, I did not, but I guess I have to see this film, and it's a pity that you saw it, you watched it, and I did not, as a Ukrainian must have. Uh, how do people perceive all this? What are scared or rather angry? Can't imagine. You mean war in general? Um, like at the beginning, like we were never like 100% scared. I don't know how. It was so important for me because when it all began, no one believed it's possible, and everyone believed it will finish like in a week or two. And I was so surprised. I was very much afraid that people in many regions that our president will give up at a certain point, because like in the west of Ukraine, we were always Ukraine focused, and sometimes in the east, they were like more influenced by Russia, more neutral to the processes, and now they are not. What Putin did, they united all the Ukraine. We have never been that united, and it was never a fear. Of course, you are afraid, but this is a different kind. Like, I had an article also where I spoke about like when you premonitions, when you have a feeling something is going to happen, sometimes are worse than when it is already happening. It I do remember, like, on the very first day of war, I went out to buy some products because, like, my mom felt like we will need everything and we don't have anything. And she made me go. And then she started calling me every 5 minutes because I was supposed to be killed, like, in the streets of Lutsk. And we were all afraid. I also felt like I'm a very brave person to go to a supermarket or to a pharmacy. Oh my God, what's with my hair? To go to a pharmacy. And there were lots of soldiers very quickly and policemen on the streets. We didn't know what will happen, like, because in the morning we were bombed and we knew that they attacked all the Ukraine. And I was very much afraid that people will give up. But people were just like fighting from the very beginning, buying it all. It all became like, it's like finding a diagnosis, or like you realize now the world knows that Russia is an aggressor, that Crimea was not a game, that it is all very real. And it was to some extent easier. We have finally realized that the world sees. We did not expect that strong support, and I'm really grateful for that. But like it was very, very, very valuable. And thank you for buying me coffee and becoming my patrons. This is just like a super unexpected and very important bonus for me and my channel. And Sasha, my co-producer, we quarrel who is the boss all the time. He says that I'm the boss, and I say that he is the boss. So, and like it was to some extent, it will sound weird, but to some extent, it was a relief, like knowing the truth. And we started fighting, and it is never fear, it is pain, it is disappointment, because don't think like that we are always that optimistic, including me. Sometimes I think, oh my god, like I'm in my 30s. This is a very active period of one's life. Life had 2 years of COVID pandemics, and I was the one who was like afraid, honestly. I'm a hypochondriac. Don't tell anybody. Not, I don't have time now for that. I am a hypochondriac only when I have time for that. When I don't, I don't. But like, and then this war. And I always felt sorry for the generation of my parents. And I felt like they did not make many of their dreams come true because the 90s, the collapse of the Soviet Union, 90s were very poor years. Like when you like had the chocolate and you were super happy. And somehow I don't feel, I'm not saying that I'm poor or I was poor, because everybody was like that. And then it's a different feeling, like you don't feel like everybody's eating and you no, like for everyone, honestly, I don't know how about like your kids or your childhoods, but for me, like Nutella was an investment, or a Kinder Surprise egg. That was like something I would receive for St. Nicholas Day. Today's children, they get everything, like even during the war. And in the 90s, it was a serious like problem. And now I remember promising myself, like, will always buy myself Nutella, Twix, Mars, and Milky Way, and Bounty, and Skittles after, like, I ate Skittles after the visit of ophthalmologists and all of that stuff. I promised myself. And now I have, like, money and I don't buy that. Like, I feel, why do I need that? It is such a betrayal of yourself in childhood. So, and I felt like sorry for my parents because I realized that many of their opportunities they like did not manage to fulfill. Like both of my parents are dentists, and like in Europe and the US, like when you're a dentist you must have a Ferrari, and they didn't have a car. And I felt sorry because I realized it was very difficult to do something during that years, and that were the years of like that golden period in their lives. But now I've told my mom, no mom, excuse me, but we are going, my generation is going through a worse period than yours was. Like, you're still witnesses, but like so many beautiful young people, creative people, people with huge potential, they die daily. They demonstrate their heroism. They did not plan this kind of life. They were good at IT. They were good at their businesses. They were doctors. They were lawyers. They were like, and even if they don't die, even if they survive, they can be traumatized. They can lose their opportunities. Their life changed tremendously because of one crazy man in bunker and stupid people in Russia who created him and support him. And this is also their responsibility. So I feel like sorry very often for our generation. I also like, I know, like I'm an optimist, and I tell myself that such people, they're always stronger, and that will be more adaptable and more creative and stronger. And maybe I will treat my life differently than I would if I did not have this experience. But sometimes it's really difficult. So, um, what do you suppose Russian soldiers are sending washing machines and tires back home? Small appliances to, yeah, they send everything they can. Like, and if to look like from above to become a like I don't know, super philosopher or a very like deep thinking person, uh, I can tell you that like this is to some extent an example of a very poor society, that the fact that they spend so much time in their lives doing crimes here, and trophies like sneakers or jeans are important for them. I think this is a tragedy of a country too. And in general, like if I were a neutral observer, I would agree that it is a tragedy that Russia, with a country with such potential, is killing its people in thousands and hundreds of thousands in a country that does not belong to them, in a country that will sooner or later win this war, and they are doing bad things. Like, we are dying for good things and they are dying for bad things. So to some extent, this is a problem. What is your favorite Ukrainian band or singer? Okay, look, perhaps Elves is number one for me. I have loved them since childhood. I don't like them to that extent now, but Elves. I like the poetics and the meaning of the songs of Plach Yeremi. Um, and many others. Like, now, any Ukrainian song and people who support Ukraine is meaningful to me. So, but Okean Elzika is number one for me, perhaps. Okay, will you do some videos of Ukrainian verbs, adjectives, and nouns so we can learn the language? Yeah, perhaps. I only teach you nouns or phrases with nouns. I have to add something. I have to add some verbs. Sometimes it's really difficult, guys, for me to explain why, because I want to give you the words that you can use when you speak with a Ukrainian, or when it is safe to come to Ukraine and you will say them. But Ukrainian is not a simple language. It has cases. And for example, when we have this nominative case of victory, we say перемога. But when you want to wish someone victory, you will say перемоги. And when you dream when you want to see something, you want to see перемогу. And it's kind of complicated to put it into a short YouTube video. So that's why I try to choose the words like that you say and everybody understands you. But verbs and adjectives, yeah, thank you so much for that idea. I will try to do that. Do my community markets have fresh fruits and fresh vegetables? Yeah, no problems with that. Fruits and vegetables, like I have bought myself tangerines, lemons, and oranges, and like you can have lots of apples. I'm not an apple lover. So, щасливого Різдва. Okay, I will teach you this phrase, like щасливого Різдва. Write you up. We don't have Santa Claus. We have Saint Nicholas. Saint Nicholas works as Santa Claus, but okay. Any questions? Like, I see that I hear that we have rain right now. Is there any organization that gives humanitarian aid there in Ukraine that we hear? There are lots of organizations that give humanitarian aid in Ukraine. And I have a separate vlog on that. You can type volunteering or something on my channel and you will see a vlog where I speak about them. And also below that vlog, in the first comment, I have linked some organizations. Of course, there are many, like every region has them. In every region, there are lots of them, including mine. But I have given you those that have English pages and they are trustworthy, and you can change them whatever you like once. So it's up to you to check. But you can find it on my channel. I don't remember the number of that blog, but you can give it a try. Will Ukraine have twin towns with Europe or abroad after the war? As far as I know, Ukraine already has lots of twin towns. And for example, my twin town has my city, Lutsk, has twins in Lublin, in Poland, and Trakai in Lithuania, and some others that I cannot remember directly, but this tradition is pretty popular. But I hope that in future we will actively connect with them, or we will actively connect with the cities and work more. Who are your favorite musicians, writers, dancers, artists, and historians from Ukraine? Oh my God. Perhaps I should record a separate video on that, giving you advice, because I am afraid to forget about someone, and there are many people. So maybe that would be like an idea for top 5 modern writers or top 5 musicians, and I will share that with you. Okay. Mm, so, thank you so much for teaching your 6-year-old son how to say "Hello, I'm Thierry" in Ukrainian. That is beautiful. That is really beautiful. Thank you so much for doing that, Steve. Um, okay. Does your community have any Christmas holiday centers or performances with Christmas messages and music may be heard? Of course, sure. There will be many. There are many on the streets, in the churches, in the theaters. But once again, many much depends on the situation with electricity and with internet. That's important. So, but of course, the Christmas mood is very, and the Christmas atmosphere is very, very important here. Okay. Are you tired of me? People, because like when a person gets electricity, she starts talking a lot. Okay. Okay. Carol of the Bells, right? You are. That's a Ukrainian carol, like inspired by a Ukrainian national carol, and this is kind of a thing that we want the world to know because this is an important part of the global Christmas. Oh, hello, Anna Leonardina. I miss our classes. That is my student, Yarina Krysyuk. Yarina, see you on Monday, maybe. That is so sweet. Oh. And she doesn't have an exam with me. And she had a credit already. So this is a totally honest command, not a corruption, guys. Thank you so much, Irina. So we still have an opportunity to work together as next semester in that translation class. Okay, so let me read some more questions. Are you worried about the opposition party taking over the House of Representatives in the USA? Like, I am not an expert in the US politics, and I know that the USA and people of the USA are a country of great support and our allies. And I try not to commend the things I'm not like an expert in. In Ukrainian politics, at least I'm insider and I know it, like maybe I'm subjective, maybe there are some things that you like and I don't like, but from the other things, I'm responsible for what I say. And here I'm very much like afraid to say something that I don't know. I support the Ukrainian people, but not the politicians. Am I wrong? Like, well, there are different attitudes to politicians all over the world. Perhaps to become a president or to become an influential politician, you have to possess some traits that are not perfect. And in the majority of cases, politicians are not like um, the best people. But at the same time, I'm really grateful that President Zelensky did not escape, and now I support him. We will see what will be in future, but at the moment, I think it's extremely important to have peace inside Ukraine. And when you start speaking, like, I don't see any very evil things that they are doing, so I support them. But of course, people are better, and it is everywhere. Like, people in Britain are better than British politicians. People in Australia are better than politicians. Like, because people are like those who make the country. Have you watched Timothy Snyder's Yale lectures of Ukraine? If yes, what did you think? I like them very much, learned a lot about history and politics. Yes, Timothy Snyder is a very great historian who does a lot for the explanation of Ukrainian history, and all of his opinions are correct and supported in Ukrainian society. Inside Ukraine, we have lots of interesting historians, and I feel really pity that they don't speak English and they don't have this access to you because like when sometimes people tell me listen to Snyder and you will learn more, no, like I won't learn more. There are lots of books inside Ukraine that already speak about the subject that Snyder talks. And but he is great because it's not his native culture, and in the case with Ukrainians, like that was native culture, and he does a lot for the promotion of Ukraine, and he was among the first ones to speak openly about Holodomor as a genocide and other things. But for example, he had an idea of Russian as a second language and making Ukrainian version of Russian like American English, and there is no such version of Ukrainian Russian. It is not like, I know the difference between American English and British English, and there is no difference. Like Russian is almost everywhere Russian, and I don't feel like he was correct in that. But of course, it's huge that he does these lectures and he speaks very clearly, and they are very interesting. And together with Yale University, they put them online on YouTube. And I'm really happy that you like them, because the perspective that he gives about Ukraine, its history and role, is actually totally correct. And I support that. Thank you. What do I think about the old good Russian culture now? I have never been a fan of Russian culture. I'm lucky to live like in the times when I have already access to English and the world. And I think that like Russian culture exists, but I had a separate video on that. To some extent, it is more of an art that people like, not the culture, because the culture itself is very alcoholic and very pessimistic. And also, like when I think about these prominent heroes of Russian culture, I can think about people of the 19th century. I cannot think about anyone from the like 21st. Well, you can name me 2, 3 people, but for hundreds of millions of Russians, that is not enough. And they don't have strong voices. They don't have strong opposition. Like, come on, Navalny. Navalny is a small Russian chauvinist. I'm not a fan of him, honestly. He's for the annexation of Crimea and other stuff. Maybe he's not that bad as Putin, but he's not like a superstar. And can you name any strong Russian cultural voices? Like hundreds? No. Compare, for example, with the US. US is a great country with its problems and its strengths, but here in Ukraine, we can name lots of people who are very influential and who come from American music, American literature, American film, cinematography. Ukraine is a smaller country. And what about Russia? Whom can you name? Nobody. So for me, Russian culture is dying. And it's time for the empire to collapse. And maybe that will be a push for new, beautiful, countries and cultures to appear. Russian will stay somewhere close to Moscovia region, and others will appear and will be open. I'm really glad that you learned much about Ukraine from my videos, and it gives me strength and like the desire to continue. Well, like the chess master Kasparov, okay, he's a nice guy, but like I mean like more people, like a couple of people, that's not enough for Russia. Russia is the largest country in the world. They have to have many. So, okay. Привіт з Болгарії and привіт в Болгарію. Are school-age children in Ukraine nowadays conversant and comfortable speaking Ukrainian? Yes, of course. Like the majority of people speak Ukrainian in Ukraine. What is my favorite Christmas carol? Like, I guess Nova Radistala. Щедрик is a little bit different. Like we sing them for the Old New Year. There is such a thing in Ukraine, Old New Year. But maybe we will like stop having that soon when we start celebrating Christmas on the 25th of December. That will be like a nice tradition. Do you think that Russia will collapse from independence movements in the republics in the Far East. That is possible. Far East is very different from Russia. Far East is has much natural resources. They are more independent. And as far as I know, at the beginning of 90s, Yakutia proclaimed its independence. So it is all very, very likely. At least I want to believe it's possible. I don't believe something inside Moscow is possible, but maybe. Many Ukrainians in Russia live in Siberia because like they were taken there, and in the Far East too, because they were deported there and conditions are bad, and they were supposed to build new cities and other enterprises there. So that's the problems. But maybe they can change something inside of these countries. Okay. Good evening to Germany. I've heard directly from a student that schools in Ukraine officially teach to spell Russia with lowercase r. Have you heard about it? I personally am happy. I haven't heard about that, but I personally spell Russia and Putin with a small letter. And I think that is like, if I could, I would was like even smaller than small. But it's so difficult because phone and internet correct that. That's the problem. But I think it's correct. It is possible to use it that way. Do you think after the war English will replace Russian as a second language? Maybe. I hope like not. I hope that many people in Ukraine will know English. It's very important for the access to global information. I don't want them to have access to this Russian picture of the world, Russian music, Russian culture. It was like that in the 90s and the 2000s. That's why they believe that with this media influence, with this poor Russian pop culture, they can keep us inside Russia, and that's very toxic. So the more people know English, the more access they have to different cultures. English does not give you access only to like American or English. You can travel to many countries of the world knowing English. You can read many scientific or cultural articles with English. So that is important. Greetings to Ireland. And what do we eat for Christmas? I will tell you later. We plan to record a video on that, and I hope it will be interesting and informative. We have to eat 12 dishes. That is tradition, or more. On a table, you must have more than 12 dishes, or 12 at least. Okay, maybe like 3 more questions, and I will let you go and sleep. I have rain outside in December. Thank you for your compliments. Do you watch the Ukrainian war bloggers? Yes, I do. I cannot say that I watch many of them, but of course I watch Denis Davidov, I watch Operator Starsky, and some Ukrainian language speaking bloggers, not daily, but from time to time. And I'm really happy that there are many of them and they have many views. That is very important. Okay. Are descendants of Ukrainians in Russia still feel themselves as Ukrainians? It's a problematic question. Many of them do, but like if you want to know what oppression of cultural identity is, look inside Russian society. There, they have lots of laws that actually forbid learning language. They have no Ukrainian cultural centers or Ukrainian libraries in Russia, with more than, I don't remember how many, like 5 millions of Ukrainians living there. And they try to like, what I like about many of you who tell me about your Ukrainian background, like that you come from Ukraine, your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents immigrated. I like it when you say, I am of Ukrainian heritage. It's so beautiful, like, because you may not be 100% Ukrainian, but you do have this heritage. Heritage is a perfect word for that. And Russia does everything to destroy any kind of heritage that is not Russian. And that's why many Ukrainians were converted to call themselves Russian. We have a Soviet myth debunked video on Russification. You can watch it. And also on Soviet people. That was the very first myth that we recorded, where I explain much about that. So many people in Russia who are Ukrainian do not identify them as Ukrainians, and that's the tragedy. Same as many people who are Georgian or from Chechnya or other cultures that are very far away from classical Russian culture, they get destroyed. Even their surnames are Russified. I have some trolls like that, or some real people, and they tell me something about how they like Russia or other things, and I tell them, come on, like even your surname is Russified. It was like an interesting Turkic or something surname or name, and it was Russified, and you don't know your heritage and you protect Russia. They stole everything from you, and I feel sorry for such people. Okay. Like, what time are you going to sleep? Different, depending on the electricity outages. But like, in Ukraine, we call such people owls. Like, I like to wake up late and to go to bed late. Like, I'm not an early riser, and for me, it's good to go like after 12. I try to go earlier before 12, and then to wake up at 9. Like, if I have person, like I'm a lazy person, you think that I'm such a good person working hard and so on, and then you realize that today I woke up at 10:45, and no, I did not party yesterday. That's the way I sleep. I think like this is a beauty recipe for a woman. You have to sleep when you have this opportunity. Okay, maybe one more question. And please, if you're new to my channel, subscribe. This means a lot. And like, I'm really grateful for your advice that helped me grow the audience. And this is important. Do the Ukrainians rebuild and repopulate Mariupol, or is it going to become a Pompeii like in Italy? Yeah, I think it has already become Osventum. It is a tragic place. And I think people should visit it and should see it. And I don't know, like, how can we, like, is life possible there? Pictures and photos that I saw are awful, like with these bodies lying and sitting in the yards with huge graveyards all around. And this Mariupol theater that the Orcs today want to rebuild, living remains of the people in the basements. It's very tragic, and I don't know, but I think that is the place that many Russians must visit. Those Russian citizens who now like Russian armed forces, who think that Ukraine must be punished, or Ukraine is now different than Russia. I want them to come. I know that there was a practice that Germans were invited to concentration camps on excursions, and many films were transmitted, and it's correct form of therapy. And I know that today German society is very healthy and very attentive and very sensitive to all of these issues. So very serious work must be done on Russians, but somehow I don't believe it is possible. But I think they must see what is happening there. But what frightens me is that sometimes when they see it, when they see these photos of killed Ukrainian children, they say, haha, they like it. That's the problem. Okay, I want to answer one more, like to finish on a positive note. So maybe I will find a funny or positive question and finish with that. Доброй ночи, saludos desde Argentina. Tengo una familia grande en Argentina, en Buenos Aires. Muchos primos favoritos. Y mi padre nació en Buenos Aires. Okay. How many languages do you speak? Not many. I speak Ukrainian. I speak English. I had no choice and I speak Russian. Ein bisschen Deutsch y un poco español. Gracias. Me encanta hablar español, pero necesita más práctica y tiempo. Okay. If I'm speaking Spanish, it's a sign I have to to stop, perhaps. Okay. Thank you so much. Ich muss Viel arbeiten, etwas zu erreichen. That is the German phrase that I used to repeat on my exams, which says like I have to work a lot to achieve something. So that is what I often used. Thank you so much for being with me. I'm really honored to have you guys. Honestly, you cannot imagine how many times a day I think about the community that I have, your support that you demonstrate, and that you share my stories, that you tell me your stories. There are so many beautiful stories that I want to share with my countrymen, and I planned one project with a newspaper where we will speak about your stories. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons, because we do have some ambitious plans on more videos about culture, history, and other stuff, because I believe lots of things can be interesting. Write me what Ukrainian word you would like to learn. And once again, thank you for being with me. And Martin and Spencer, thank you so much for making this beautiful questions visible. I'm really, really, really grateful for the team that we have. Thank you so much, and na dobranic, and slava Ukraini!